And Leland, I'm gonna have to put in my earphones to hear you. Because I'm a nerd, apparently.
Yeah.
Oops. Hey.
I'm trying to think of what everybody knows.
All right.
Did I?
All right. Sorry, Leland. What'd you say?
I said, did I miss anything?
Maybe.
Ew, it's gray. I guess gray is better than fucking American flag.
All right. So maybe I need, Naija, you're not the first. Maybe I need to switch those links up so you guys don't get confused. All right. So I want you guys. Sorry, I'm trying to get things set up. Yeah. I want you guys to work on the warm up. Take like 2-3 minutes to do it. Oops, I didn't mean to edit it.
There's a reason I don't wear masks like this.
Ew.
I fucking like this mask.
No.
Like any mask that go around your ears with. I'm sorry.
I just don't like the pressure on my face.
I do that on my big ass elephant.
Hold on 1 second. What'd you say? Oh. Just do your best guess. Yeah.
If that wasn't very helpful, what about me?
No one cares about you, Alex. That's all right. I can't even click on the right links. Oh, God. That's one way to turn in work. This one? Not yet. Not till next week.
I mean, I had no problem turning in. Wait, come here. Wait, before you turn that in, let me see that. Okay. No, not that. No. What is that? No, I haven't touched those papers.
All right.
Does it look like I do my...
All right, this is your warm up. Get it done. Boy.
Miss Peterson,
Yes.
the screen
What's
keeps
up?
freezing.
Mine does or yours?
Yours?
Oh, well, I have it staying there right now, so you should be answering this on your computer.
I did.
Okay, good. I'm still waiting for a few. We got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I should have 12 answers.
I somehow opened up my computer, put it over there, and forgot that I opened up my computer. Shut up. I could dunk, bro. I was actually... Okay, I haven't played ball. I haven't played ball in 3 years, and these dumb sixth graders while I was skating were like, yo, let's play some fucking basketball. And then they were like, yeah, you could probably dunk on us. Dunk on me. I was like, okay. I guess I could be doing that.
Ah, that is what I wanted. There we go. I was clicking on the wrong button. I have 7 out of 12 responses so far. Keep them coming. Mm-hmm. Yep. Is it one of those days, Isaiah? Yeah, I feel you on that.
How much money do you gotta give me to get my warm?
Yeah. I can. I haven't had anyone show up in a while, so I kind of.
If I can pop up in here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I've been doing this case study.
Mhm.
All time together, and I can find Mr. Lyon.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll help you guys.
What in the world would you ask Mr. Lyman for?
We'll come up here tomorrow with you.
Oh my God. I'm banning you two from my classroom. I do not need to witness any of that. All right, so I've got Ashley's, Keenan, Niaja's, Dante, Javea. Oh, I think there was somebody else there. Oh, no. Isaiah, Leland, and Dylan. I have your answers. Thank you. Go to modules.
Okay, I was just on there, but the way that you were saying.
What is the point of having the buttons then?
What buttons?
The fancy little buttons that you made at home.
Because they told us to do it differently after I'd already created the classroom during summer. Yeah. Yep, only one question.
What the heck is it? It took me like 1 minute. It says I need to do 5 minutes.
All right, we'll see.
Mine was less than a minute. Get on my level.
Oh, sure.
All right, so I want to go over it really quick. This was over notes you should have been taking yesterday. Sorry to pile it on for the seniors. So, which of the following best explains why City B regularly receives less precipitation than City A? Most of you, I can't even do this right. There we go. Most of you got it correct. The rain shadow effect causes City B to be drier because the mountain blocks the precipitation from reaching the city. Hey, where could you guys think of a real life example of this?
One of the deserts behind the Rocky Mountains.
Good. So we're on the east side of the Rocky Mountains, so we would be like City B, and then like Grand Junction or Rifle or whatever all the way over on the other side. They're not near the ocean, but they still have ocean air masses and stuff coming in with a whole bunch of precipitation coming in. They hit the mountains, drop everything. That's why it's so green on the other side of the state, and leave us with nothing for the most part.
You know how far the ocean is from Grand Junction?
No, but I can tell you how far it is to get to the ocean in Washington from here. Because I did that drive this summer. All right. Okay. So we're going to go through the last bit of notes today, which for you guys is 4.9. So we're going to talk about some El Nino, some stuff like that. So I'm going to open it up. No, this is as much Spanish I think as we get this year. Well, I was gonna say we've done technically talking about orbits, Serbian, Milankovic cycles. All right, and in 3 years this will open. I forgot to open it during advisory. Come on. So I will give you guys at least a heads up that I have seen a scientific term here, crap ton of questions for the exam that have dealt with El Nino and La Nina, specifically a little bit more El Nino. But how do I want to say it? I've seen it as the written responses as part of them, especially to like they would try and trip people up of this versus like a climate change scenario, just because one typically is known for causing disasters along the Americas coastline. You know, people tend to confuse that with, oh no, the world's going to end, it's climate change, and it's really just like an El Nino year. So I will see that, and then I've definitely seen a lot as far as, what's it called, the multiple choice. Oops, somebody must be having computer trouble. All right, so, all right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is a little bit of the ocean currents. When we talk about El Nino and La Nina, it's pretty much the North and South Pacific Oceans, but all of your major currents are on here. So I'm going to hope you guys can interpret what red and blue arrows mean. Especially since it says it on there, although I don't know if you can read it on my projector board. Yeah, so the blue is cold, just like your faucets at home, I'm sure, with a little like blue sea on it. The red is warm, and all the warm currents originate from generally the equator. So we talked about insolation already, like the sun directly hitting the earth, right there warming up the air and warming up the water. And then we have our cold currents coming from either of the poles. So that's why you see the red and the blue. Anytime you see these circles, they're typically called gyres. So large scale water circulation. Yes, there's waves and currents within that. There's also deep ocean currents. But these ones are really responsible for a lot of habitat, biodiversity, as well as economy, because this affects people's ability to harvest and fish, and does cause storms when these currents shift. You can see that they're opposite in the northern and southern hemisphere, so clockwise up top, counterclockwise at the bottom due to the Coriolis effect. Yeah, so, yeah. Okay. They do what? Most tornadoes are actually started by lightning, because it needs that amount of rapid movement that is caused by the lightning. You will get storms, you will get higher flows with cold and warm air masses meeting. And then, Ashley, there's another cable all the way over there if you can't reach that one. Yeah, hold on. Let me finish with Daryl's question. So you will get the swirling, but you could get like dust devils. Like, do you know what those are? So
Isn't that like a tornado but with sand?
yeah, it's like a little tiny tornado with sand. It usually just kind of kicks up a little dirt. It's not even strong enough to be classified as a tornado. It's just got that swirling wind pattern, and it's generally like localized, and it doesn't do usually any damage. I see them when I drive back home or something. I see them a lot going through like Wyoming, during the summer because you get the heat differentials. What's your question, Isaiah? The packet or the notes? Do you have a paper one? Is that what it was? You don't have any of them?
Do you want to pick one?
I have one. Right here. I'm sorry, I'm tethered to a set of headphones. Thank you, Alex. All right. That was a good question, though, Daryl. I love weather and storms, so I'm always down to sidetrack. Okay. So upwelling is another major term you're going to run across a lot. Our biggest biodiversity is typically in coastal regions, so the shallow waters. So it's the upward movement of ocean water. What do you think comes up from the bottom? Anybody?
Plants, animals, bacteria, sediment.
Yeah, everything, really. You're actually pretty good on that, Leland. All right. So shells tend to stay at the bottom, but they do come back up depending on how strong the current is. But you definitely get nutrients from the soil because as animals or plants or organisms, whatever, die, since most of your organisms remain towards the top of the water, they fall down to the bottom and they have nutrients in them, even though they're dead, just like a dead animal would in like a grassland or something. Those nutrients then get pushed up to the surface to actually help continue feed the cycle going on. It's very, very important, especially if you're like going out fishing. So you know you're one of those fancy fishermen on the National Geographic Channel or whatever. Like your life, your income depends on upwelling. So it also supports large populations of phytoplankton, zooplankton. So those are the little tiny like singular cell animals and plants, fish and fish-eating seabirds. So this is kind of like your, what is it called? Your ecological food chain. If those nutrients come up and feed the little stuff, then the semi-little stuff can eat the little stuff, and the bigger stuff can eat the little stuff too. So that's how it works. So once you feed the lower end of the food chain, everyone else gets fed. So that's why upwelling is such a big deal. These things make me out of breath. Right? And it's really weird to inhale and like have cloth inside my mouth. Okay. So the areas of red are areas where there's upwelling. What's a commonality among them?
The ring of fire.
So they're all on coastlines, right? A ring of fire, yes, over here, but that doesn't account for anything over here. They're all coastlines. Those are your shallow waters. That's where those nutrients are getting pushed up to. You're rarely, if you take a ship and for some reason need to go all the way out here to go fishing, you're going to be a very hungry person because nothing really hangs out here. There's very little food, very little, I was going to say water. There is a lot of water out there, but very little things for anything to feed on because it's so vast. So it's those coastal shallow areas that are dependent upon the upwelling of nutrients.
All those whites. Sorry, go ahead.
The other thing I was going to say about that, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit on the next unit, is light can only go so deep into water. So when you have these deep waters, if you've ever looked at like the blobfish or anything, they don't need light. That's why most of the things towards the bottom of the ocean are blind. But imagine being blind and having to like go through this amount of area trying to look for food that doesn't exist because there's no light for phytoplankton that far down. So a couple of those things. What were you going to say, Leland?
I was going to ask you, all these white streaks on the map, is that lands below the water or is that just shallower water?
So the white streaks, like you see right down here, This is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So this is where the Atlantic Ocean is growing. Iceland would be right up here. And then you have Europe. So this is your Mid-Atlantic Ridge. This would be part of your Ring of Fire down this way and up through right in here. This is your Nazca Plate, your Caribbean Plate, Cocos Plate. That's why friggin' Puerto Rico has so many earthquakes. You have your Philippine Plate, Australian and stuff down here, and you have a couple of the Scotia and Antarctic plates down here. So those are actually plate boundaries. Like that is the Nazca Plate boundary right there.
Okay.
So that's what you're actually looking at. Good question. So I think I've only given you guys like black and white photos of that. All right, so upwelling occurs when you are far from shore, the surface currents move apart and draw water up in the deeper layers. And then along the steep western coast of some continents, and we can refer back to that picture if you need in a second, winds blowing across the coast push surface water away and then draw that water up. So you have what's called longshore wind, just like you have longshore currents, and they run along the coastline. When that wind pushes that water out of the way, water's going to backfill it. Just like if you were like sitting in a bathtub and you take your hand and swipe at some water, water's going to replace it. So that's where you can get that upwelling. So if it's far from shore, you get it through deep ocean currents that draw it up. And then along the top, you get extra because your longshore wind pushes it out and it backfills. All right, am I good to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's just another picture of it. Oh gosh, that's hard for me to read from back here. So this is off of California coastline, right in here. You have your cold water and your deeper fish coming back up with the upwelling, and then you have that warm water getting pulled back down eventually once it comes out. You guys also may have heard the term before, convection. That plays a little bit of part in this too. You also have your longshore wind coming from left to right on this picture, and that colder water coming up to replace it. Okay. And just kind of another one example of the coastal upwelling, when you have that wind parallel, the cool water upwells from below, because this goes against, it's upwelling because it goes against your convection, because cold water should be sinking, because it's more dense. All right. Now along the equator, it does get a little bit different because of the Coriolis effect. So you have the north and south trade winds that are all going, and it kind of looks like towards the equator, but this would be a little bit better if it was a globe. But you have your warm surface water going away, and then that cool water coming up. So you get almost double upwelling on the equator. If you guys needed me to hold on, I could have.
No.
Okay.
No. We are doing what we're doing. Come on.
Sorry. All right. There was a bunch of pictures anyways. All right, so what happens during El Nino? Every few years in the Pacific Ocean, remember this is not a thing in the Atlantic Ocean, normal shore upwellings are affected by changes in weather. Prevailing tropical trade winds that usually go east to west weaken, so they're not very strong, or they reverse direction. That means the Western Pacific warmer waters move towards South America. That suppresses the normal upwellings of cold, nutrient-rich water. I think so. Yeah, but do you know how long ago I wrote this? I used it last year. That's the last time and I've been building the ones for Earth Science this year, so like my eyes are crossed when it comes to freaking notes and PowerPoint. Huh? Some of it. I put it all together. Sometimes. I'm not gonna reinvent wheels. Nope.
Oh, that's cool. You moved it over here.
Mhm.
Dang, the power of technology. Imagine that.
Still learning how to use my 3 screens. Still weird. I like it, but it's weird.
Yeah, I kind of just like block out that whole area.
You don't even need to have your mask off, and I know exactly the face you're making.
Because your PDF stuff falls.
Or you say they magically delete.
They do. They really do.
Yours just did.
You have to like put some links into it though.
Or just hold it for a little bit. You're good? Okay. All right. So here's your El Nino phenomenon. In a normal year, you've got, I don't know if you guys here in class can see this, but you've got these red arrows going to the left or going to the west towards Australia. It gathers a whole bunch of warm water over in this area, and the cool upwelling comes up along the western coast of South America. So this is what it should look like normally. This is the direction of our normal Pacific Southern Ocean gyre. All right. In an El Nino year, that gives us a warmer winter, and then the oh my God, the easterly winds, they weaken. So they're not all going west. If they're going west, they're going so weak it almost doesn't affect anything, or they completely reverse and go east. When they go east, that reduces the amount of upwelling that can come up here and keeps the coastal waters over here warm, which gives us typically the warmer winter. Sometimes it gives us more storms as well. Last year, if I remember correctly, was not an El Nino year. If you're thinking of the bomb cyclone, that was unrelated to, because that was coming out of the east. So it was unrelated to the ocean current. But we do get affected in Colorado by El Nino. But the bomb cyclone from last year with the 100-mile-an-hour winds and stuff that took out my fence, that was a polar vortex. So that was air masses coming down really quick, really cold from like Canada. My phone? No. All right. So possible effects of El Nino, I already mentioned the warmer winter. You get the decrease in nutrients, especially along the South American coast. That reduces what's called primary productivity. Primary productivity is like how productive plants are in producing their, what's it called? Their sugars through photosynthesis, because yes, phytoplankton do photosynthesis. When you have less primary productivity, less phytoplankton, all of that, that causes a decline in the fish population. So that's why I said there was an economic tie-in to El Nino years. They're bad fishing years. It also can alter the weather of at least 2/3 of the globe. So if basically you are along this, like Leland said earlier, the Ring of Fire, or even over here in the Indian Ocean, or up on the eastern seaboard, then yes, it's going to affect your weather. Just a little bit of change in an ocean current. If you can see on the picture, all the red spots are where they get warmer than normal. The green spots, right here and right here, the big one in here, over in Africa, that is wetter. And then you actually, when we're getting wet, let's see, wet and cold as well, Australia, New Zealand, and the Philippines, and a lot of the islands over there, Southeast Asia, they're getting dry. So they're going through a dry spell or drought when we're getting soaked, compared to. Are you guys good?
Yeah.
That's why they're my favorites. I'll move on in just a minute. We only have a few slides left.
What's the box on the map at the very bottom of this page on the packet?
Let me look.
It looks like the picture was cut off.
On what page, Leland?
Page, hang on, push the scroll bar. Page at the bottom of page 28.
It might be because you've moved as you type, Leland. That might be the only thing I can think of, just because word format's funny sometimes.
Okay.
So it might be cut off on your end, but there are some boxes there at the end.
Actually.
All right, just kind of another picture. Usually warm, usually high rainfall, and the changes it can affect. They go through the drought, like I mentioned on the previous picture. This one's just a little more color-coded. This might help you with the very end of it, normal versus El Nino conditions. Hold on, that is though. This is just before. I have more in my slides than you have on your packets. Shut up, Daryl. I'll drag you here. All right. All right. So in La Nina years, it cools some coastal surface waters, brings back the upwellings with the strong trade winds and causing the jet stream to actually move a little further north. Your jet streams along. What's wrong?
The pictures.
Oh, I see what you did. Yeah.
Is that wrong?
So this would be normal. This would be El Nino. This would be La Nina. Yeah, because La Nina goes back. Let's look at that left picture.
Okay.
Yep. Correct. Yep. That's right. Yep. So, yeah. So we talked about the El Nino reversing the currents. La Nina is the same direction of currents as a normal year, but with a much, much stronger approach. So it's like it takes it to the extreme. And then I'm going to go to the next slide really quick so you can get in some of this information. With La Ninas, you get more Atlantic hurricanes, colder winters in the Canada and Northeast, warmer, drier winters in the Southeast and Southwest, wetter winters in the Pacific Northwest, torrential rains in Southeast Asia, and lower yields of wheat in Argentina. Terrible. All right. So that was the last of your packet, I believe.
Yeah, it was. And why did you next packet?
So Monday, I'm going to have you guys do the progress check on AP Classroom. So it's like a mini practice quiz or whatever. Yep, that's right. You're a nerd. Good job, Daryl. Okay. And then Tuesday, we'll talk probably a little bit more about El Nino, La Nina, or maybe we'll do that tomorrow and then do some review over the next couple days. And then on Thursday, you guys will test on this whole unit. I wish I could do a field trip. And then you'll test on this whole unit. Friday, I'll give you guys new packets. And we're going to start a new unit.
The fact that we can't take field trips in AD
It's not just it's the whole school district.
It's the most homosexual thing I've ever heard.
Well, see, Alex, if you were here the other day in virtual class, I asked them about doing like weekend field trips. And I would do that. I would give up my Saturdays.
You know, that's why I'm here, because you tell me about these things when I come.
Bro, you want to know something stupid?
What?
I've been to every single class every single day, and I've come to school every single day, but I got 24 absence.
Yeah, this whole absence system's been a mess. Sorry.
Probably worse.
Because you actually miss things.
I don't miss days. I miss absences.
All right, so the bell's about to ring for everyone in here. If you guys have any questions, you can say them out loud or put them in the chat. Is station 1 based off of video? No. Kalejane, no. I put the answer key up a couple weeks ago. The very first day we started using this packet.
Miss Peterson,
Yeah, what's up?
can you go back to the slides where they have the maps and the boxes?